First off, David, thanks for taking the time today for joining me again for another interview for the website.
Oh, no, this is great. I really love doing it. Thanks, everybody, if you're listening. Thanks so much.
Thanks ever so much, David. Okay, we'll start like we normally do, just with your latest projects. You're returning to the screen this Sunday for The Secret of Crickley Hall.
Sunday the 18th. Yes, absolutely. Ashes with I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here, I think.
Oh, well. I think these days with the TV how it is with all this like record business and things.
Yes, no, people. It's 3 episodes. Crickley Hall is 3 episodes. I'm not sure if it's going out every Sunday or whether it's going to go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Right.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I've got it down on the website as starting Sunday, but I don't have any other information myself as of yet. So
okay.
Once I get an update of, like you say, when it's been broadcast, we'll get that updated. Can you tell us a bit about it without giving too much away, obviously, because it's a brand new thing? Or?
Oh, yes, no, so it's from a book by a man called James Herbert.
Yeah.
He writes kind of ghost stories. Really, it's not horror, so it's not that kind of thing, but it's a ghost story. All I can really tell you is I don't play a ghost and I don't play anybody nasty.
That's good.
So I'm just an old bloke there, and it takes place in 1943 and today, and I'm the older version of a young man who's in, but it sort of goes back and forth in time. Yeah,
so there'll be somebody playing like a younger version of you then, I suspect.
Yes, yes, sir.
That'll be interesting. That'll be great. So that's coming this Sunday. Also, early next year, you're going to be delighting many Doctor Who fans as you're making your first live action appearance after doing an alternative Doctor for Big Finish, and more recently the voice for Lord Aslock in the animated Dreamland.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's lovely to be part of the Doctor with Matt Smith and Jenna. I can't tell you anything about it except that Matt Smith, of course, is the Doctor.
Yeah, no, sure.
And Jenna is the new assistant. And Mark Gatiss wrote it.
Yes.
I'm playing a part. I'm just in it, which is great fun, rather than, I'm not, again, I can't tell you anything about the
episode. No, understand, yeah, sure.
But, it's great to be part of the Doctor Who, as you just mentioned. I've played Doctor Who on the Big Finish audios twice. Once with David Tennant, before he became the Doctor. He was in one of the audios I did. So that's a collector's item.
That's a great little bit of trivia as well. Who'd have thought, you're doing an alternative Doctor with a future Doctor as well.
Right, that was all. Of course, nobody knew David was going to. It was quite a while ago, but we did that. But that's Big Finish audios. And, so I played the Doctor on my voice, and as you just said. So it's great to be, with Matt Smith, who is a smashing bloke. I really liked him.
Great. We'll look forward to seeing that.
Yes, I don't know when it's on. It's sometime, obviously, in the new year.
Yeah, I think it's down as episode 7 of the next series. So I don't know what they're up to at the minute, but I think it's probably going to be early next year, I suspect.
You know more than I do.
Yeah. We talked last time we did an interview about lost films getting released for the first time.
Yeah.
Since their original outing, with Little Malcolm. More recently, The Both As Guns been remastered, and a short horror you did in 1987 called The Evil Clergyman, which is starred with Jeffrey Combs, has just come out.
Yes, I knew. I just heard about that, and of course, it's as you said, 1987. It's not my latest.
Yeah. There's just been a lot of talk about it from the director Charles Band. There was the horror fans out there were quite in demand for this film. I just wondered if you had any memories from it.
Not really. I mean, I do, but it's very hard. I mean, I do only meeting and working with Jeffrey Combs, who I've done 2 or 3 times. Don't ask me what the names of the other things, because, at that time I was so much.
Yeah.
But, no, I haven't seen the Charles Band thing because it's only just been released. It's not like we get to see everything, you know. I mean, actors don't always know what's going on, in the business.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that it was made in 1987 and it's only just come out must have a story all of its own, which I'm unaware of, except that I thought it got lost.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot about it because so much has happened since.
Yeah, I understand. I think a little bit of trivia for fans of yourself as well, as you did. I think that was like the third, because it was based on a H.P. Lovecraft novel, and you did another HP. You've done 2 HP Lovecraft films. You did Necronomicon, and you did Cast a Deadly Spell, which is a quite interesting one because that was directed by
Martin Campbell, who then went on to do a lot of the James Bonds.
Yeah. How did you find that film? Because that was a bit of mixture of. It wasn't quite CGI. It was kind of puppets, working with puppets and things. Was that interesting?
Well, sorry, which film are you talking about?
The Cast a Deadly Spell one with Martin Campbell. That was a bit of a mixture of live action with like puppets and things. It wasn't quite all CGI.
No, well, first of all, I don't always see everything I've done.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually seen that. But it's great working with Martin. I'd worked with him before.
Yeah.
On an ITV series called Charlie, a 4-episode kind of thriller.
Yeah,
a long time ago, so it was great being asked by Martin to work with him again. I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it.
No, that's fine, David. I was just mentioning with Jeffrey Coombs as well that you work with. I just wanted to mention briefly if you had any memories of the actions in your film you did in the 90s, because you've done 1 or 2 of them, and that was shot in New Orleans. It had a couple of character actors like yourself that have done quite.
Lance Hendrickson.
Lance Hendrickson, yeah.
And Joe Don Baker.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey, I can't remember. Again, it's one of those that you go and do it.
Yeah.
I mean, all I know is that I rather enjoy playing roulette over in Las Vegas, and it was quite near a great gambling town. So Lance Hendrickson and a few of us always used to go over and do, just some light gambling. That's what I remember most, and also spending time with Jeffrey Combs, where we went to a restaurant and had oysters near the sea, which was very nice. And that's the most thing I remember most of that particular job.
No, it's a great. I think that's what people want to hear. They want to hear just the little stories that went on. And like I say, I mean, it was full of character actors, and I think it was a different film for yourself. Car chases and guns and jumping off bridges. Obviously not yourself, your stunt double that start to do all that, but it was an interesting little film.
Oh, Stuart, I do all my own stuff.
Anyway. You did mention Charlie. I was going to get to that a little later on in the interview, because that was...
Sorry, mention what?
The Charlie TV series, because a lot of this interview today is about sort of like the unreleased... I've got quite a bit on unreleased in... finished films that never come out. Charlie's one of them ones that's not come out yet. And you did another TV series called Hold the Back Page. I mean, I know nothing about this one. I've totally missed that one, and I just wondered if you had any...
Yes, Hold the Back Page was great for me. It was 13 episodes for the BBC about a sports writer called Charlie Wordsworth.
Yeah.
It was 13 each week. It was a different sport was covered. It was a comedy. It was a light piece.
Yeah.
I really loved playing that, but they didn't pick it up for any more series.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them ones. I mean, I think majority, like we just talked about, things coming out, being re-released. I think that, along with Charlie, is something that's not come out yet on DVD. So I guess you just got to wait for that one to recapture that one again.
If it ever does come out, I just don't know how they work.
Yeah. Also, back in the 90s, you worked extensively for CART Radio Theatre, the California Artist Radio Theatre, doing audio plays. They've just released Oscar and Limbo that you did. Just wondered what memories you had, because they had quite a large cast resume there. What memories you had from working with CART?
Well, it was if you're living in Los Angeles, which sort of call Hollywood.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that you asked to, you do it because you have to pay the rent and educate and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So belonging to I really like working with Big Finish here in this. Doing, Doctor Who, Sapphire and Steel and those things. It's really a joyous thing to do with no pressure.
Yeah.
But, no big money involved, nothing involved like that.
Yeah.
And the same thing over with California when I was over in Los Angeles living there, working and doing these all radio projects, which, again, a handful of people listen to, but I really liked that. We had a faithful following of all group of people. And yes, it was just wonderful because you have a little, sort of get there and you record these wonderful radio plays.
Yeah.
And whether they're wonderful, I don't know, but it's a wonderful experience doing them.
Yeah.
With a group of people, it's like what we call a repertory company. People, we do things, we eat up, and we record plays. And it was one of the happiest parts of my life, being over. Strangely enough, people say, well, you were in Hollywood, weren't you? What did you really enjoy? And people find it hard to believe when I say I really enjoy doing radio.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I think the thing with that as well, David, is that it's having a bit of resurgence with, obviously, with technology, like with the iPod generation and the iPhone. People are downloading these things now. They're getting a new lease of life, like the Court Radio Theatre website. Obviously, they've been in touch with the website, and they're re-releasing everything now for download. So, and with people on the go kind of thing, these things are getting a new lease of life, which I think is great.
I hope so. And also something very important before we move on to something else, about Big Finish, who I'm a big fan of, as you know.
Yeah.
And Radio Theatre. If it is downloaded, it's not like the actors are making a lot of money or anything like that. I'm just so glad that we do get to hear these. Because with the technology, with so much television, with so many channels, with so much rubbish on there, and in my opinion, the fact television, I mean the reality television.
Yeah.
Good to have, and I do hope to listen to other stuff, take time, shut their eyes, and let their imaginations work.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what radio, and that's what sound, and that's what audio is, stimulating imagination.
Yeah.
And that's what we're starting to lose now, and I just hope we take advantage.
Yeah, I think it's on definitely on a resurgence. I remember the old audio books used to get on cassette. They were big and clunky. I think that put a lot of people off.
Yeah.
CDs, but now it's just an instant download for people where they can just put the headphones on, and I think it's definitely on a resurgence. And from what the court people have been telling me by email, it's getting really popular again.
That's wonderful to hear, and thank you for you contact them more than I do. I mean, they're a very dear part of my life. Thank you for being in touch with them. They're really, really important in my life.
Thanks, David. Yeah, that's great. Just moving on. With the film that you did? If you can remember, only because it starred another British character actor. He obviously, unfortunately, now passed away. You worked with in the 90s, Golden Globus. They were a big film company. You did a couple of films for them. You did one called Hannah's War, which you starred with Donald Pleasance. That's been released. Obviously, Donald, he was a regular with John Carpenter, like yourself. He did a few films, but you did a film called Louise and the Jackpot.
Oh yes, that is something I'd rather you didn't mention.
Oh right, okay. It's not out anyway, so don't worry. It had Oliver Reed in. I just wondered what experience you had working with Oliver Reed. Did you have any scenes with him?
Yes, I had some scenes with Oliver Reed. And surprisingly, I'd never met him before.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to talk about it. It's just not a film I remember. It was a very, very, the circumstances of making it were very difficult.
Yeah, no.
But Oliver Reed, you can certainly say, I'd never met him before.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know what to expect. But when we were working, I never saw him in the evenings. He was notorious for various behaviors.
Yeah.
But when we worked together, he was charming, he was quiet, he was gentle. It was just fun and just not a problem at all. But I mean, I never spent the evenings with him, so I don't know. He's had a reputation.
Yeah, he had a reputation, but obviously when it came down to doing his job, he just got on with it by the sounds of it.
He was a real professional actor.
Yeah. How did you find working with Donald Pleasance as well? I know you did From Beyond the Grave, but I don't think you.
Oh, well, no, I didn't work with Donald on Beyond the Grave.
Yeah, I think he was in the different segments.
Different. I worked with him on something called Signs and Wonders.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
In fact, no, he was in that as well, but I didn't work with him. But he was a friend.
Yeah.
Away from showbiz as such. So it was just lovely to actually sort of spend some time with him. We shot that in Hungary, Hannah's War, and we had dinners and lunches, he and his wife and my wife and all that kind of stuff, and we just chatted and had great fun and a wonderful time. He was a friend away from the actual work. Yeah,
that's good. I suppose like one of the questions later on, but I may as well do it now. Is that I was going to say was there any kind of actors that, because obviously you must talk about film a lot when you're on set and stuff. I was just wondering if you had any particular actors that you work with that you could just like relax with, and I guess that's the answer then, I suppose. That Donald was one of them that you could just like relax and not worry about film and do something else.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that happens occasionally. I mean, strangely enough, I mean, a big star of the time, of course, now it's some time ago, was Gregory Peck.
Yes.
We were working, we spent a lot of time together because we were the only two actors who used to go on location, meaning we would go and get on a plane from London to Italy and then 2 weeks in Italy, just the two actors, so you'd spend time together. And the same, we went to Israel, just the two of us.
Yes.
I mean, the crew was there, but you know, and you got to know somebody very well. And that, not that I could say I was great friends with him afterwards, but it was just wonderful spending that time with a legend, you know.
Yeah.
I know the people who come to the site maybe just a bit younger.
Yeah.
But you know, to certain older people, you know, for me to know Gregory Peck, people like James Mason and all those names that are not known particularly today.
Yes.
Pretty older, they say, wow, you hung around with those guys? I think, yes, I certainly did. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, we talked about before, your filmography, I guess, you know, all the films you've done in directors and even the film crew that have worked on other films, I guess the list goes on. What I was going to mention as well, just saying that, is that you did, just keeping with the British actors and then just one other American actor that, you know, the same as yourself, good character actor, a lot of films. You did a little thing called Fairy Tale Theatre with Christopher Lee. I think that's the only, I think you worked with him in a thing called In the Beginning as well, but I don't know if you shared any scenes. Just wondered if you had any memories of working with Christopher Lee.
No, I mean, we just sat around. I mean, I was sort of there. We were in it together, but we didn't spend a lot of time.
Yeah. And then the chap that did the actor that did the narration was Vincent Price for that episode. I wondered if you managed to see him on set as well.
Yeah, well, I saw Vincent Price in other places. I didn't actually see him on set.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing to me, now you've brought that up, I've totally forgotten about it, with Christopher Lee.
Yes.
I mean, I've done a little bit, not too much, a little bit of horror.
Yes.
And of course, he's a legend. But it wasn't a horror. It was fairy tale theatre. It wasn't a horror.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Christopher Lee as well. I mean, he has done, like you said. I mean, he's done probably more horrors than you, but he has done a lot of other different stuff as well that people don't really.
Yes. No. The point I'm trying to make here is that, as I say, I've only done a couple of what you call horror films.
Yeah.
To anybody listening to this, I've not really done a lot of horror films.
Yeah.
You know, my CV is more than that. It's just that it was interesting that Lee and I were in the same thing, but it wasn't a horror.
It wasn't horror, yeah, of course, yeah. Just a couple of other films that never got released. I just wondered if you had any info on them, purely because I don't think they ever will. One was with John Hurt. You've worked with John Hurt quite a few times, but you did a film, The Wild, the Innocent, and the M25. I just wondered if you had any memories of that.
I've never heard of that.
No?
I've never heard
that could be just one of them rumours. And then another one was The Burning Book with Richard Harris and Christopher Plummer.
The Burning Book?
Yeah, Richard Harris and Christopher Plummer. This is all on the BFI website of unreleased films. Well,
they may have changed titles. I just can't remember working with them both in the same thing. Or The Burning Book. No, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. Putting you on the spot with a couple there, David. It's no problem. One that you probably will remember that this will never get released, apparently, is because it's been wiped by the BBC. You did a thing, this was quite early on in your career, you did the Madhouse on Castle Street with Bob Dylan.
The Madhouse on Castle Street is one of the great tapes that people have been trying to find. There was BBC did a whole program on that.
Yes.
Arena called, searching for the Mad Bob Dylan in the Madhouse.
Yeah. With
Bob Dylan, and he sang "Blowing in the Wind" for the very first time publicly in that play.
Yeah.
I mean, he was brought over to play this huge part in this play, when he just suddenly said, "What am I doing here? I'm not an actor." And he wasn't famous then. And so what they did was they jiggled it so it became two characters of one, and I did all the talking and he did a little bit of singing, and he wrote "Blowing," and he was writing lots of songs at the time which the public didn't know about. One of them was "Blowing in the Wind," and they used that to close the play. Anyway, it was wiped by the BBC.
Yeah.
5 years later, and there was a program, as I just said.
Yeah.
Anybody who, I'm sure none of people listening to this will have recorded any of it because it was so long ago. But they've been trying to find anybody who has any information.
Yeah.
It's Bob Dylan singing "Blowing in the Wind" for the first.
Yeah, it's amazing. Unbelievable. They got there's a couple of stills on the website people can see from it, but that's it. There's nothing. It's a bit like there was a film in the 30s called London After Midnight.
Yeah.
That got white. Well, it got burnt in a fire, and that's another one of them ones that, you know, the Todd Browning, I think, was the director. One of the lost sort of like Universal horrors that got wiped.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's great. And then the other one was this. I think it's still knocking about, but it was written by Tom Stoppard, who did the Shakespeare in Love Oscar-winning film.
Yes, we're talking about The Engagement.
The Engagement, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
That was a 45-minute film written way at the beginning of Tom Stoppard's career. And it was a little short film. Yeah, I mean, I don't know a copy of it somewhere. I don't know. And The Engagement, yes, it was just a little romp, a little comedy romp.
Yeah, the bit of research I did on it, apparently your character gives endless pints of blood or something because he's lost this money for the ring or something, the engagement ring.
Well, what he's got to he can't, he's taking a cab to get somewhere, and he has no money each time to pay for the cab.
Yeah.
So he has to go everywhere in this cab in order to try and get money to pay the cab driver.
Yeah.
And so he goes, and in the end, yes, one of the things he does is he goes give blood.
Yeah.
And then, but while he's doing that, the meter on the cab is picking up. it's just a idea, you know.
That'll be great if that. I mean, I think it does. It's not been wiped or nothing. I think it's just waiting to be released, just like both of us going in Little Mouth and things like that. I think it's one of them ones that will eventually resurface again.
Well, let's hope so. You know, because again, it's a rare. You know, I do comedy, and not many of my comedies are out there, and you know, I like to be thought of sometimes as a bit versatile. Although I was just reading an article in the paper. If you're versatile now, if you do different things, it's harder now to get a job.
Right.
People want to see you as you always are. You know, like going into a supermarket and knowing what brand you're going to be on the shelf. They want you to be sinister, or they want you to be cookie. Or in the old days, and I hate to use that phrase, in the old days, versatility was what an act was about.
Yeah.
Now it's not what people want as far as the past people, because they just don't know anything. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on about.
No, that's okay.
You know, I do comedy. I've done horror. I've done war pictures. I've done a western. I've done a musical. You know. I've done all sorts of stuff. But now that isn't attractive, especially for TV. They want to see you as they saw you last time. Yeah,
kind of not much of a variety, a bit sort of like a monotone kind of thing. A film that not many people might have seen. It is out on DVD recently with Michael Ironside, called Hostile Takeover. Do you remember much about that?
Oh yeah, I mean we made that in Canada. No, I enjoyed that. It was a good part for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the reason I mentioned it, because I know you have had plenty of starring roles, but like I say, that one I think again it was a bit like The Independent Drive. It didn't really get the.
Yes, no. I mean, I've had good roles in what you would call B movies.
Yeah.
But you know, not in subject pictures. I did another one called, they called it Age of Innocence, A Ragtime Summer.
Yes.
Another one, and I don't have copies of any of them. So I don't have Hostile Takeover, I don't have Ragtime Summer. Not that I sit and watch myself, but it's always nice to have them.
Yeah.
Those were two good leading parts in very, very small budget, low key pictures.
Yeah.
Hostile Takeover was interesting. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Another large role, a leading role he had. I mean, I talked to this film about on the phone, but not when we were doing an interview. And I think this is one of your best films personally. It was Michael Kohlhaas, the Rebel, that you made. It was a German production, and you obviously got the lead role in that. And it was it a difficult shoot, because I guess there wasn't very few English people on set.
Well, no, but the actors were English.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of people there, but the director, Volker Schlöndorff, who went on to win an Oscar for a film called The Tin Drum, it was his first film in English, so that was difficult. It was filmed in Yugoslavia, I think, in places with a whole crew that weren't English. So that was difficult. I made that immediately after both of us.
Yes.
So my hair is very short, and it should have been a bit longer for that part. It was a really good part, but again, Nobody saw it. It wasn't successful. So I was given opportunities to play leading roles, but I'm a character actor.
Yeah.
It didn't work, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was certainly very interesting.
Yeah, it's just it's a great film. I mean, it just grabs you straight away, and obviously, I don't want to give too much away, and that is out on DVD as well now, so that's good. So it was a good film, and like I say, it was good to see in a starring role as well, and
I spend a lot of time on a horse.
Yeah.
And I love looking at horses, but my golly, I don't like riding them.
Yeah.
So that was real acting, because I had to be an expert horse, and I'm not.
Yeah, I guess back then was the stunt doubles sort of like, would they try and get away with not using a stunt double if they could for the horse riding then, or?
For long shots you would. No, mainly, whenever I was sort of close up on a horse, it was me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was just that I know I had to spend a lot of time on that horse. And
yeah. I don't know doubles or anything, but you're on about Age of Innocence. There was a lot of like motorbike riding.
Oh yeah, I had to have somebody to do that. I couldn't ride.
You couldn't ride a motorbike. Okay, and just moving on to some questions that people have sent in. This was part of my question, and it's a member called Tom that sent this question in. Was an episode of Wild at Heart. You worked extensively with a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
How difficult was that? I mean, there was the scenes in that where you're driving around in a jeep, and it's like trying to jump onto you and hug you and things. And
oh no, I just thank you for that question. It's Tom, yes? Was it Tom that asked it?
Tom, yeah.
With the chimp was great. It's well trained, and I didn't have a lot. There was nothing very difficult for it to do. I really had to hold it.
Yeah. And
all that, and little moments. It was just lovely. No, it was fine. It was fine. It was just a nice, part for me. Considering, actually, a couple of people mentioned it. Considering I did a film called Morgan.
Yes.
Where I dress up in a gorilla suit.
Yeah.
And then I was in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Tim Burton's Planet, just very briefly. So it was quite logical that I should play a scene with a chimpanzee.
Yeah. I think the Tim there was a new Planet of the Apes that came out a couple of years back where they've used CGI apes, but your ape movie with the Tim Burton one was, I think it was the Rick Baker effects. I guess that was quite sort of like a long time to get them effects, because the original series, the effects were really good, and obviously Rick Baker came along and they look really, really good, a lot better than what I personally think the CGI chimps and apes look like.
Yeah, well, of course, I don't know what, you talk about CGI chimps and all that, and like the Titanic was a lot of CGI. The birth of CGI is rather like Bond was the beginning of, certain kind of animation. I'm always in at the beginning of stuff. Planet of the Apes, for me, was mainly having that makeup on.
Yeah.
But then I'm quite used to having makeups, like Klingon in Star Trek 6 and, my Cardassian in Next Generation. So I've had long makeup things. So mainly anyway, we were talking about the chimp. Let's get back to it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and it was really just great fun working with the old chimp.
Yeah, obviously, if it comes back on ITV Player, people should check that out. Or I think it might be on DVD now, Wild at Heart, anyway.
Yes, okay.
It's a good one to check out. Just moving on to some questions from more members. This is from Mikhail in Germany, who's one of the real regulars on the site.
Hello.
She wanted to know, is there any film locations that you haven't been to that you would like to appear?
Locations that I haven't been to that I once had a holiday in Mauritius.
Yes.
The island of Mauritius. I'd love to do a film there for a while. No, I can't think, because if I haven't been to places, of course, I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
So, no, what I do, is a not too hot location, because England can be quite dull.
Yeah.
I have been lucky. I've worked in, when I did Mad Dogs, we were in Majorca.
Yeah.
That was lovely. And when I did Hornblower, we were in Menorca. And I love Vancouver. So I've been to Sri Lanka, and that was nice.
Yeah.
I can't say where I would like to go, because I think that would be a bit selfish, really, a bit ungrateful. But I have been to some terrible places, and the worst place I've ever been, not that you asked that, guys, was that film with Oliver Reed, and it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
It was Minsk. Excuse me. Minsk, Belarus, and that was the worst place I've ever been to.
Right.
In my career. But, so I can't say where I'd like to go. I haven't done South America. I haven't done Australia.
Yeah.
A lot of people say Japan is fun.
Yeah.
But I just haven't done those. I was in, I'm trying to think about it, Penang in Malaysia. That was quite nice and pleasant and interesting. But I can't complain about not having been to, I've been to some fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. This is from, the next one's from Ash.
Yes, Ash.
He's asked, did you manage to keep any costumes or props from any of the movies that you've been in?
I'm trying to, well, a film called Morgan years ago, which was way, way before any of you were born. I kept the sweater that was on me when I was on location after another film. When I was making Michael Colehouse, actually, I had to take that off to get into my costume. I came back and that had gone.
Yeah.
I haven't kept any of this. It's rather like I don't have memorabilia. I don't have lots of photographs of me.
Yeah.
Or anything on my walls or anywhere. I just haven't gone in that route.
Yeah, yeah.
So, no, I haven't got any of the costumes. Some of them would be a bit bizarre.
Yeah.
I had. No, the odd suit.
Yeah.
From a film, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, that's great. Irina, and she's from Russia. She comes on the site a lot as well, all the way from Russia. She's asked about filming Work as a Four-Letter Word. She says she thought it was a curious film, but she enjoyed your character.
Thank you. That was a film. It started off as a stage called E-H, and it was in fact, a bit of trivia for you. It was the first, from what I can gather, Gus Hoffman played the same role on stage as character in Work as a Four-Letter Word. That was one of his very, very first jobs.
Yes.
Stage off Broadway when he was starting out. Because Dustin Hoffman and I were in Dogs together.
Yes, yes.
So, it was a weird film. It didn't work. It was originally a stage play.
Yes.
And they decided to try and film it. And it wasn't successful. But there you go. Not all films can be. But thanks for asking about that one.
Yes, okay, that was great. And Irene's got another question as well, so just send two over.
That's fine.
She just wondered what kind of music you like to listen to.
Well, it's mainly, I would certainly listen to classical rather than anything else, although, of course, the Beatles was my group.
Yeah.
Way back, and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band, just when it first came out, I just played it.
Yeah.
And when I was out in the desert all on my own, the Bee Gees, I enjoyed listening to the Bee Gees. It was something there. But if I listen to any classical music, which I don't often, it would be sort of classical music.
Yeah, that's great. I did miss another question from Michaela. I've just noticed. She's asked about sports as well. What kind of sports you like to watch?
Well, I used to play, when I was much younger at school, cricket.
Yes.
The sport that Russia knows very well. And I like watching cricket on the television.
Yes.
At home on my sofa. And only the big football games.
Yeah.
And I watch tennis when Wimbledon is on, or any of those things.
Yeah, that's great. And the last question I've got is from Ben today, and he's from Plymouth, and he's asked his favourite film of yours is Silver Bears, and he just wondered what memories you had of working with Michael Caine and Jay Leno in the movie.
Well, Michael Caine and I used to hang out, actually Terence, Michael Caine and I, way back, when they were film stars, and we used to hang around in London and go to clubs, go dancing and eat dinner and all that kind of stuff. I knew Michael before he was Sir Michael.
Yes.
Way back. And then we did actually make a film called, we made Silver Bears, which was great, because that was a nice location. We went to Morocco and there had meals and had dinners. I always think more about what you do in the evenings rather than when you're filming.
Yeah, yeah.
But also we did a film which was not very good called The Island.
Yes, yes.
Michael Caine was the one I was in, and that was a disaster.
Yeah.
But, Silver Bears was just interesting. I don't think I've ever seen Silver Bears. Not that I necessarily, I'm asking you, we'll talk about it another time. But Silver Bears was fun, being out there in Morocco with some lovely people. It's as I say, it's the locations and the people that I remember more than the actual films themselves.
Yeah, no, that's great, because obviously people have seen the films, and I guess they like to hear what kind of memories you had personally from.
Well, there was one memory from Silver Bears where we had to be on top of a mountain, and we went up every single day to try and get the right lighting for it, and it was always raining or it was cloudy, so we went all the way up on donkeys. Top of one of the mountains, and then had to come down not having filmed.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember a lot. And apart from, of course, as I said, having lovely evenings and playing games and eat. You know, you don't get paid. I don't get paid a lot, but sometimes I have good fun.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, that about wraps it up for today, David. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for taking the time again for doing this for us. And I'm sure everyone will be really pleased to hear this.
Well, thank you, and really thanks to all for taking the trouble to listen. You know, it really means a lot to me. You know, it's just great fun to have this. And Stuart, thank you. I'm going to say this. I didn't know about this site at all until somebody told me about it.
Yeah.
But now I'm so glad. It's a wonderful site.
Yeah. It's good. I'm like I say, I'm dead glad to be doing it. And I know you've done like a few film conventions and stuff, and people have sent emails from the conventions and stuff just to say hello and stuff, and that they've seen the website, and you know, people do know it's out there, David, and I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Oh, I am, and I hope everybody else is. It's fun, it's harmless, it doesn't cost any money.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to have it.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much.